welcome everybody to the One Sweet Wrestling Podcast. I don't even know what fucking episode we're on, dude. What episode are we on?
We're in the 20s. I would have to say maybe 23, 22 or 23.
Is it weird to me that that's actually a really good feeling? Like the feeling that we've done enough of this now that I genuinely just don't remember what the number is. Like I feel accomplished. It feels good. But this week, it's a voice I'm sure you're not used to hearing opening the show. So we're gonna flip roles a little bit this week because David has been busting his ass to make Black Coat Radio a success, and I think he's feeling a little bit blown up, and so I'm gonna help him out. I'm gonna take the reins here. I'm just gonna let him do the fun part this week. I'm gonna bring the shit up, and David's gonna knock it down. You're gonna comment. You're gonna give me your thoughts. I want to hear, and the people want the millions
and millions.
I wanted to give him a chance to say it. Of David fans, I want to give you a chance to tell him what you think, and it's gonna be interesting. Cause did you actually get to catch up on Raw? You said you didn't get to watch.
I did.
Okay.
I did. I did the Cliff Notes, so I know what kind of happened.
So you watched it the way I essentially watched SmackDown at this point.
Basically,
I try my damnedest.
Which our viewing habits, we're going to have to probably bring that up. Our viewing habits of SmackDown are probably going to have to change, as well as the possibility of a move time slot of the show.
Yes, that's actually a very good point. It's something I completely forgot to bring up to you tonight. Yeah, man. Once the brand split actually happens, fuck, we're gonna have to think about a different time slot for One Sweet, or at least a different time to record. Because during the time, if I remember correctly, they're doing 8 to 10 o'clock, right?
Yeah, SmackDown will be a live show on Tuesdays, which is Tuesday nights, or when we usually record this podcast.
Yeah, well, we'll have to put some serious thought into that. Maybe we go live the second that SmackDown is over, so it's fresh in our minds. That could be interesting. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it pans out when we get a little bit closer. But we will definitely get to the brand split. Couldn't really find a place that made sense to start out this week, so I just kind of threw some shit against the wall while I was outlining this bitch. But first off, okay, I know Up, Up, Down, Down is a success. I know people really, really love Xavier Woods because he's fucking charismatic as hell, and he loves video games. He's really passionate about what he does. But have you actually had a chance to watch this Tyler Breeze YouTube show?
Shooting the Breeze.
Breeze.
I have not. I heard about it. It's been a really busy, hectic week, and I have not had a chance to check it out, which is kind of going to be my answer for most of the things we talk about tonight. But I like him, and I love his personality just from what I've seen from behind the scenes on that show. They did the Breaking Ground show on NXT, so I can't imagine this is not an extremely entertaining show.
Well, I would love. You know what? I would love after the fact for you to check it out and let me know what you think. Maybe we can get a review of the newest episode of Shooting the Breeze from you next week, because I got to tell you, I agree with you 100%. I think he is a damned entertaining person. And maybe it's just because I only watched the newest episode because I just found out about it myself. But this was just the weirdest, most boring, most try-hardy thing I've seen in a very, very long time. And I feel like it takes one to know one, because we ourselves on the One Sweet Wrestling Podcast are very try-hardy. But this just, I don't know. It seemed like it was a lot like the Social Outcasts are, which is just everybody's kind of trying to be New Day. Everybody's looking at what Xavier Woods is doing that works and just trying to find their own twist on it, so that they can get a little bit of a nut. So you were not a fan? It didn't do it for me, man. He himself is charismatic and entertaining, but I didn't find. I don't know. I didn't find this. I didn't find Tyler Breeze doing this very entertaining at all. Really.
Now, where would you put it more towards the Z Up Long or the Ice-Z, whatever Zack Ryder show is? I can't even remember what it's called now.
Again, I'd have to watch more episodes, but this one, it was like he was like doing a skit thing about him getting one over on Dolph Ziggler or something. It was just weird. And again, I guess what got me is it just kind of felt like everybody sees that what Xavier Woods is doing naturally, what makes sense to him is entertaining. Everyone's just kind of trying to find their own way to sort of tweak it and use it. And what I found really ironic about this is the number of episodes. I think they were on, or at least the most recent one I saw was episode 16, which
Wow.
I don't know if this is weekly, but think about that. Think about 16 weeks ago. Think about what was happening with Tyler Breeze 16 weeks ago. This seems to have started up right around the time that they put his push into the grave as soon as he premiered. And it's unfortunate. It sucks. It just seems like another thing that's not necessarily working out for Prince Pretty, whether it's his problem or, well, I mean, I don't know though. It's got 104,000 views on this one video, so maybe this is just a bad episode, or maybe I'm just the asshole.
If they're gonna go with this whole stable thing, what I think, and I know they're kind of goofy together, but I do like the pairing of Tyler Breeze and Fandango. But I'd like to see them bring in a leader for that, and someone who I think would be good for that if you turn him heel. And I think we kind of might have saw hints of that this week is Dolph Ziggler.
Oh,
I thought that would be a really good 3-man team. I did catch his spot on Raw, and I'm not gonna laugh. I'm gonna tell you, I spit water out. Like, I laughed.
Talking about Ziggler's spot?
Yeah, on Raw this week.
We'll get down to it because I think that's no spoilers. We'll get to that. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think that I hate the name Breezango because it's a fucking name that I'm sure Vince McMahon came up with. But I will agree with you that there is actually a stupid amount of unused talent in that duo. And maybe they just need an X factor to really get them over. But I will say this: I'm tired of perfectly legitimate, perfectly talented wrestlers having to find other ways to get over. That's really why I bring this shooting the breeze to the table. Is I'm tired of them having to find other fucking ways to get over, as opposed to getting over doing what they do best, which is be fucking professional wrestlers.
Well, I was actually kind of thinking about this earlier because I was looking at it and looking at who's in the top realm right now, because we have the return of Seth Rollins. He came back at Extreme Rules. Great worker. He's towards the top of the card. AJ Styles is still towards the top of the card. Amazing worker. Kevin Owens, great worker. Sami Zayn, amazing worker. Cesaro. There's a lot of. It's pretty top heavy right now. I know, we still have Roman Reigns as a champion, doing his 5 moves and going ooh.
Oh, it's ooh ah.
Ooh,
yeah, don't forget the changes. It's 2 syllables in there, David.
Sorry about that. He's a very talented man. But I was looking at that, and I look at Tyler Breeze, and I say to myself, is he in that realm of talent? And I say no.
I can see that point, but I would also argue that they are not as top heavy as you think. They're top heavy. They're top heavy for smart marks. They're top heavy for NXT fans, for people who know these guys and know what it is that they can do. But to the average everyday fan, are these guys really is anyone up in the level of a John Cena or a Randy Orton? Not even Randy Orton. He never really was. Is anyone up in the level of a John Cena right now, other than John Cena? The problem is, and it's what we talked about before. It's that break in the chain of command. All these guys are stupid talented. They're amazing workers, and some of them are even really great on the mic. The problem is they haven't gotten over on anybody. And so they're having trouble getting anyone to that level, and that's why I'm really excited to see the matchup that Cena's first rivalry when he gets back, which again we'll talk about later. But I just feel like none of those guys are really really over yet.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is they're great workers and they're at the top of the card. They are all above the Intercontinental level, which Breeze is not even at the U.S. title level, which I consider the U.S. title the bottom barrel of those singles titles.
Well,
he's in a tag team, and he'll probably never have a non-title match with the New Day.
Well, that's true, but on the other side of that coin, look at the guys you mentioned too. So many of these guys have just been hot shot up into the main event scene that when eventually some of them have to break off and go after the IC title, it's going to feel like a huge demotion. It's going to feel like the death of a push because again, they've just taken all these guys and just hot shot them directly to the top of the card, and I feel like there's just, I don't know, there's so much that's wrong about guys like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Well, really Sami Zayn more than anyone being all the way that high up on the card at this point. I feel like Cesaro definitely earned it, and he's still chasing the IC title. I feel like Kevin Owens, he's he's earned it at this point. I feel like I could see him up there, but Sami Zayn, it's just too much. It's too much of a hot shot. It's too quick. I mean, why do he or Kevin Owens need to be chasing titles right now? Why aren't those two just beating the fuck out of each other and telling a good story?
That's a good point. I guess I see it as Sami Zayn. I think they see Sami Zayn as someone who can be a John Cena type, just because he's colorful, he's nice, he's fun, he's got that kind of personality, and he's a amazing worker. And I think they look at him as someone who could possibly be a John Cena type in the future. I heard them talk about that when he was down in NXT. They just like his style.
Well, now he's just got to get his strumph up, because I will say that the dude doesn't have a main event pump. He's a good looking dude. He's in good shape, and he's easily one of the most talented guys in the roster. There is no question. But he doesn't have that main event pump. And the thing is, I can look at that and be like, fuck it, he doesn't need that main event pump. Neither does Kevin Owens. But you know who doesn't think that is the jacked 70-year-old man who's running the company.
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you go back in the warehouse, they still have some of the Giant Gonzalez muscle suit left. And if he would like to revamp his gear, maybe that's something Sami Zayn should look towards in the future, of having the hairy Sasquatch-esque suit.
Well, they'd have to pull the merkin off the front end and replace it with like an Elmo or a Gonzo wig, because the hair color on that thing just ain't right now. But speaking of weird shit. So, the theme song, or I'm sure one of the 2 or 3 theme songs for NXT TakeOver The End, which I finally heard the name of TakeOver this time for the first time, and I really hope they stop with this naming convention, because now it's just getting bad. But
well, there's something interesting about that.
Which is?
If you dive into it, because this is kind of going away from what you're talking about right now. The TakeOver event for July has been canceled. The TakeOver event for SummerSlam that they would usually have on that Saturday or Friday before SummerSlam has been canceled.
Oh, so you're thinking the brand split is bringing some bigger changes to NXT.
Yeah, because from what I've heard is, and this is from the people in NXT, from what I've read, they've asked and they don't know what's going on. Like this whole The End thing was a surprise to them. So it's very possible that this could be the end of the TakeOver events, and NXT is going to be more of a developmental, and the people that are on TV now are going to be pushed up and actually be on either Raw or SmackDown.
Okay, see, now you're helping me put some pieces together, because I can't tell you what it was, but I would have sworn that they had already named TakeOver, this next TakeOver, and it was not called The End. It was called something else. I just don't remember what it was. It had another name prior to this, and it wasn't until I found this article that I'm referencing that I saw it called The End and went, wait a second, that's weird.
Yeah, it had something else. I don't remember what it was, because I think we referenced it a few weeks ago, because it was a re-something.
Yeah, like, because it always was. It's like half the time it's a something. But anyway, so the weird thing that I'm referencing is Baby Metal. Baby Metal's Karate is going to be the theme song for NXT TakeOver, and man, okay. I got to admit, I'm outed. I'm outed on our podcast. I'm a fan of Baby Metal. I love genre mashups. I love when you take two things that don't make any fucking sense together and you force them together and make them work. It's part of why I loved Shaun of the Dead. It's part of why I loved Kung Fu Hustle. It's part of the reason I love fucking Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I like when you take just weird things that have no real connection and force them together and make them good. And Baby Metal is just this interesting, cool fucking mixture of J-pop and metal, and I fucking love it. And I'm excited to see them be part of the WWE universe. I fucking hope they'll be. It'd be great if they were there for a live show.
See, I am not very familiar with Baby Metal. I'm assuming, are they Japanese artists?
Oh, Jesus Christ! You've never heard any Baby Metal? Okay, well here's the thing. They've been around for a little while now. The song everyone knows, and kids, if you don't know this, take out your pens and paper. It is called "Gimme Chocolate," Gimme Chocolate. You're gonna watch it at the end of the show because we don't have time to do it now. But you're gonna watch Baby Metal's "Gimme Chocolate." It was in fucking Rock Band. The video was super popular. Their peak here in the U.S. thus far was they actually performed on Colbert a couple months back. They perform live. But what Baby Metal is, David, in short, is it is a hardcore metal band from Japan that is fronted by 3 Japanese teenage girls in essentially like heavy metal slash like cutesy kawaii style outfits. Oh goddamn, you're falling apart over there. You okay?
Yeah, allergies have been killing me in this area.
Yeah, so just watch it after we're done. Now, but that's all I can really say to you is it is a metal band that is fronted by 3 Japanese teenage girls, and it's just so weird and fantastic. And if you dig what you hear, definitely check out their live performance on Colbert. It's not only fantastic, but who the hell knows with Stephen Colbert because he's so good at what he does, but he plays it off on his show almost as if he had never heard them prior to them playing live, and after the performance, like he has a look on his face like he has no fucking clue what just happened on his stage, and it's fantastic. But anyway,
Excellent.
so another weird but wonderful thing that I saw this week, I found this great article. Was it on Wrestling News, WrestlingNews.co? Somebody wrote an interesting column about The Miz and about somebody who seems to finally agree with us on the subject of The Miz and his overall quality as a heel in the modern WWE universe, as they say.
He is the Miz is so good to be hated. They should never even try to make him a face. I kind of put him up there when I think about it, and I'm trying to think of in my childhood who would I put the Miz up against, and I think the person that, and this might be a weird comparison, but I see the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase.
I can see that.
That's because he was great heel. You always hated him for the things he did. I mean, he doesn't do the rich man gimmick, but that's not what I'm talking about. He does this whole "I'm better than you" A-lister Hollywood bullshit when you know. It's funny because you know he's doing fucking B movies that are going straight to freaking beta tape, he's good at it. He's great at making you hate him.
Yeah, I thought this thing was interesting. I mean, one, obviously because it fucking corroborates an opinion that we've expressed here on the show. So obviously, I'm gonna be it's gonna be a little bit over with me, this article. But I mean, really thinking about it and reading through it, the idea here is essentially that he's not necessarily drawing money. You know what I mean? The Miz isn't putting a single ass in the seat outside of when his parents come when they go through fucking Cleveland or Cincinnati or whichever town he's from. But what he does do is he does his job as a classic, just straight up heel so well that he creates all these fantastic moments. The article cites Daniel Bryan winning the United States Championship, or Mizdow turning on him during the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal at WrestleMania. And when you really think about this, there are a lot of interesting and great moments that came about just because you hated The Miz so much. And at the end of the day, when you strip away all the bullshit, when you strip away the fact that the WWE pushed him beyond where he ever should have been around WrestleMania 27, when you strip all that away and just really look at it, isn't that what a heel is supposed to be? Isn't he just supposed to be somebody who's there to get over the face talent, and you're supposed to be happy when he gets his comeuppance?
Exactly, and I guess if you look at that 27, because everyone's like, that should have been Punk's slot, but here's the thing, I think it meant more for the Cena-Rock feud for The Miz to beat John Cena, because I think that's a pride herder.
Well, oh yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't think anyone... I think everyone knew something was up going to that main event because it was fucking Miz versus John Cena. I would still argue that it was CM Punk's year. It wasn't the year to do that. And you can get into the whole CM Punk thing. It's a whole other can of worms. I will say it was a complete fucking slap in his face. But CM Punk aside, if you can look at it within the vacuum of just the match for what it was, yes, absolutely. The Rock showing up and making Cena lose to a guy who, within the confines of the narrative of the greater WWE universe at that time, Cena should have just fucking Hulk smashed. Yes, it's absolutely the right move. It was just unfortunate because somebody else should have had that spot for reasons unrelated to that match.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that they complain about long-term booking, but I think that's a good example of their long-term booking and a reason why Miz was in the main event and not CM Punk. If you really look at it and where their plans were to go for the next year, it made more sense to do it that way.
Well, and that'll, you're I think you're right, but that also does lend credence to the main complaint that CM Punk had, which is that they just, the WWE being they, just book so fucking far in advance now for their biggest storylines that they just end up shooting themselves in the foot because things happen organically in that time frame. Look at Daniel Bryan heading into WrestleMania 30. I mean, look at how bad they fucked themselves because they told themselves shortly after WrestleMania 29, Dave Bautista's coming back and he's going to have this epic run with the title and he's going to fucking promote Guardians of the Galaxy for us, and it's going to be this big, huge thing. And during that time, a fucking short little man with a beard showed up and stole everybody's hearts. I mean, and that's the problem. Is a lot of times it seems like WWE's biggest problem is not booking far enough into the future, but then at the same time when they try to buck that trend normally around WrestleMania, they book entirely too far into the future. I think there's a sweet spot that's a few months in advance, and for some reason they just refuse to play in that sweet spot and they end up fucking themselves for it. But regardless, I thought it was cool to see the Miz get some respect because the comments that the Big Show made about being a utility player and being important in that respect in the WWE, I think you could go so far, double entendre intended, to call Miz the biggest tool, the most useful tool in the WWE universe.
I think that's that's a good statement there.
So,
but
this is one I'm really interested to hear you talk about because you sent me the video of the Ricochet Will Ospreay match from New Japan Pro Wrestling's Best of the Super Juniors tournament. And you showed me the little clip that everybody was sending around, which essentially looked like the kind of video game wrestling that Jim Cornette's always bitching about. But then I went and watched the entire match, and the entire match itself was really interesting and solid and a well-told story. And I'm so split because there were parts of it that I really hated and parts of it that I really loved. And I'm interested to see what you thought.
Well, Ricochet, for you guys who don't know, his real name's Trevor Mann, but he's also known as Prince Puma on Lucha Underground. But he's right now the big tournament, the basically what the Global Cruiserweight Classic is based off of, the J Cup in the Super J's in Japan is going on right now, which is the best cruiserweights throughout the world, and it's like a series of matches, and they're going on. And him and Will were having this match, and I saw the clip, and the clip I saw, that's all I thought of. Like, Jesus, this is exactly what we're talking about. Why all these guys are getting hurt trying to pull off all these crazy moves. My problem with this style is it looks more like an organic choreographed dance than it does an athletic contest. And what are we trying to see here? That now here's the thing. Go to like, have you seen The Raid?
I have seen The Raid. Were you the one? Holy shit. I think I heard somebody else refer to this match, like reference The Raid in this match. I have not seen The Raid, and so apparently I need to see it. But anyway, go ahead.
But, okay, The Raid has some of the most brilliantly filmed action sequences in a long time. Just absolutely incredible stuff. Very entertaining. But you're like, it's kind of like when you're watching a kung fu movie and then you go watch an MMA fight. Completely different. Now, pro wrestling is kind of slides more towards a movie, like a martial arts film, than an MMA fight, but it kind of is in that weird gray area. And don't get me wrong, was this very entertaining? Absolutely, it was entertaining, but I was kind of taken out of the contest.
Yeah, and I think, you know what, I think you and I, it sounds like we kind of had the same reaction to it, because it was technically impressive. I mean, there's no fucking doubt. The shit that they're doing would be amazing for one person to be doing on their own, but for two guys to be doing it so beautifully choreographed blows my mind. But I think that's really the problem. Is I was super into everything they were doing until they got to these points where everything felt choreographed, because I felt like I was watching a fight scene from The Matrix. And again, it's like you said, that's not an athletic contest. That's really it. I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag. I totally think it's something everybody should watch if you haven't seen it. And yes, as David put earlier, the WWE's Cruiserweight tournament that they're doing is definitely a ripoff of Best of the Super Juniors. That's definitely the market that they're trying to dip into. I'm still wondering whether they are going to do the same kind of round robin scoring style that they do in Best of the Super Juniors, but. Yeah, I'm interested. Anyway, I'm interested to see where that goes. But as far as this went, I would love to see these guys go again, but just keep it super technical because they can clearly all do this crazy shit. But I think even with some of these weird, these over the top moves, there's a way for one guy to be performing that move and the other guy to be taking and selling a move that makes it all make a little bit more sense. Like for instance, Will Ospreay finishes the match with a springboard cutter, a fucking beautiful springboard cutter. Which when you look at it, I'm just like, Jesus, can fucking John Cena learn how to do that? Because he just keeps trying to do it and he can't quite pull it off. And it looks fucking.
The most awkward springboard stunner I've ever seen John Cena had.
Totally
it's terrible. It's terrible.
Well, when you look at it, Will Ospreay straightens out his body when he does it. He makes sure that he grabs the head before he bends his body to come down. John Cena's got his body bent at 90 degrees the second he leaves the ropes, so his big fucking bulky ass mass is in the way to him actually grabbing the head for the cutter. But anyway, it's looking at that. It's like that cutter at the end didn't feel so over the top because one guy was delivering it and the other guy was taking it and selling it. All the shit where they were flipping around and stuff, and especially when they both stuck the superhero landing in the middle of the ring. That's where I kind of wanted to check out. I forced myself to keep watching, and there was good stuff after that, but I kind of just wanted to check out after that.
Yeah, it was. It was a fun match, but yeah, when we were talking about an athletic contest versus, which this link's actually no longer available due to copyright reasons.
Yes, yeah, they've almost all been pulled down. They've almost all been pulled down. So I was glad I got to see it when I did.
But it was fantastic athleticism, but like we talked, if you're trying to look at it as an athletic contest, it was too choreographed to me. And now I'm probably going to get all kinds of comments for people telling me that I'm old and out of touch.
Yeah, you're an old man. You're a cranky old man. I will say this: one of the other glaring problems with these overly ridiculous, like flashy moves is some of the insanely bad botches that you get from the number one being for two guys who are so talented and practices so much, and it's really just the angle of the camera that fucks it up. but right before the springboard cutter, Will Ospreay does a pretty fucking beautiful looking corkscrew kick. And he just completely and totally misses Ricochet's head. Like Ricochet drops his head forward intentionally. The idea is to take his head with the flow of the foot so that he doesn't take this nasty fucking kick with all this oomph behind it right in the back of his head. But boy, he throws it forward so fucking quickly that it misses by half a goddamn mile, and the camera catches it in all of its glory. And I just at that point I was just like, well, there you go. That's what you fucking get. That's what you fucking get for I'm sure what was hours and hours and hours of practice and choreography and practicing your fucking moves. It's just sad. It's just sad and silly when you could have gotten the same, if not a bigger pop with a fucking 300 some odd pound man with curly platinum blonde hair shuffling his fists together and then elbowing someone in the forehead.
That's why the leg drop doesn't do as much damage anymore because of shit like this.
True. That's why DDTs don't matter anymore.
Fucking Jake the Snake lay you out with a DDT. Now it's the freaking first move you do.
Yeah, now you don't have to sell it. Now you don't have to sell it to save your life.
They don't sell anyway. Like I was watching something recently where it was like he hit a big move and then he goes up to the top and the guy, he's not even to the second rope yet, and the guy's on his feet running over there to break it up. I'm like, are you serious? Like, roll out of the way when he jumps.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's funny because it seems like nowadays everybody's either selling not at all, too little, or selling like fucking Dolph Ziggler on a bender. Because Dolph Ziggler makes everybody look like a fucking monster in the ring.
If I got in the ring, he would make me look like $1 million.
Dude, Dolph Ziggler would make you look like Roman Reigns.
Oh yeah, very strong.
But speaking of strong and goddamn speaking of selling, I had to send you this. I found this fantastic What Culture article. It was called the 10 Most Insane Wrestling Spots of the Week for the week of May 29th. I had to share this because I was looking through and I'm like, okay, a bunch of weird wrestling spots. It's always entertaining, but I don't know why I don't expect at this point, but I still just don't go into these things expecting a Joey Ryan dick spot. And I got a Joey Ryan dick spot.
It's the strongest thing in professional wrestling next to Roman Reigns.
Easily. I think honestly that Roman should fucking watch his spot. Because I think if Roman had to go up against Joey Ryan's dick, Vince would be sitting in the back telling fucking Roman Reigns to make Joey Ryan's dick look strong.
Yeah,
because
so
you could
here's
sell
something
those T-shirts. You could sell
I
those
didn't
T-shirts.
realize. So Joey Ryan is now a part of Lucha Underground. I was not aware of this.
Yes, actually, was it? God damn, what was the name of the match? A few weeks back, Chavo won one of their big belts. Fuck, was it called? The Gift of the Gods belt, which is actually a pretty good match. If you haven't seen it, it was. I want to say it was a 7-weight match for this Gift of the Gods championship, and that's when I realized I kept hearing people putting over this match, so I went to check it out. And God, it may have even been last week, and I haven't watched much Lucha Underground, to be honest. I don't care for most of what I've seen, but I heard so much good about this match, and it was a technically sound and fun match. But then I saw Joey Ryan come out, and I said, "Motherfucker!" Like the guy who's doing all the fucking dick moves online is actually on something that people find as critically acclaimed as Lucha Underground, and in that match, I don't recall him doing anything with his dick. So I actually thought to myself, okay, this guy just comes out looking like Magnum PI, and he's clearly got skills in the ring, and so it works for him in that setting. And then this week, I see this, and I say to myself, nope, somebody at Lucha Underground, fucking Eric Van Wagenen stopped him and said, you need to start selling your dick.
That's why we brought you in, son.
So the point, the spot that we're getting to here, though, I think everybody at this point has seen the Joey Ryan spot where he actually flips someone with his dick. But this particular spot was he actually had a match on Lucha Underground this past week with Mascarita, a little person wrestler. I think that's what you have to call him now. I don't know what they call him in Mexico, but he goes up and decides that he's going to low blow Joey Ryan, and I'll be damned if he doesn't stub the fuck out of his toe on Joey Ryan's unbelievably strong genitals.
I can't not laugh at it.
Joey Ryan literally flexes nuts. He literally flexes nuts.
He's tough. He's a very tough man, and he has a very tough dick.
I could watch this GIF forever. I really could. And this is where that part of me, like that loyal fucking cult-like fucking feelings I have towards everything that Jim Cornette says. I want to fucking follow and believe every single thing he says. I think the man is a genius. I look at this one gif of Joey Ryan just flexing nuts after Mascarita subs his toe, and I'm just like, God damn it. There's something entertaining about this. There is entertainment in this, even though it's fucking terrible and it's bad for wrestling. There is entertainment in this, and I can't say that I'm totally upset that it exists.
They need to get him in WWE right now and make Val Venus his manager.
Holy shit, would that be fucking interesting? He could be Pal Penis. He could be Val's protege, Pal Penis. He could come out to the hello, ladies.
Perfect.
Anyway, so speaking of shit that's been unleashed out of the Joey Ryan's dick, WWE unhatched something big this week, David.
Yeah, they've been running about it for like the last couple of weeks on social media, and everyone's like, "What does it mean?" People were hoping that because it was kind of a dark, ominous door they were showing. Some people thought it was some movie that was getting ready to come out that I think Seth Rollins starred in. Some people thought it was going to be Finn Balor coming up to the main roster because they've been thinking that for the past 6 months, that everything is a sign that Finn Balor's coming up because he fucks with people on social media so much.
Oh yeah, I mean somebody holds up a fucking sign in the audience that says something about Roman Reigns, and people are like, that was actually an Easter egg. They planted him. Finn Balor's coming next week.
He'll be here. And he loves it. You should see, like, he's over, like, he'll leave an NXT event and he'll get on the bus. He goes, "See you guys on Monday."
Oh, he's such a motherfucker about it.
Oh,
it's fantastic.
He's such a troll. I love it.
Him and Chris Jericho are the best. Chris Jericho trolls that he's leaving every week, and Finn Balor trolls that he's coming every week.
So what actually happens, the door comes open, and this is something they do usually around SummerSlam, but they did it a little early this year, and it was the tease for the WWE 2K17 game, and it showed that Goldberg is going to be a pre-order character you can get.
You are an old man.
You can get 2 versions of Goldberg, and it's you can get his classic, basically Austin ripoff Goldberg, and you can get the Goldberg that had the black and the white trunks. And also coming with it, you get 2 arenas. You get Nitro and Halloween Havoc, which I don't think we've ever had Nitro. We got Halloween Havoc this last year. But that's kind of I'm not as excited because I got Goldberg in 2K14.
Was he
So
in
it's not
2K14?
he was because that was 2K14 was my favorite game because of how they did it. And that was the 30 years of
Yeah,
WrestleMania, and they
so
had
many people have told
so
me
many.
that was a shame I missed that one. So many people have told me
Oh,
that was the one.
it's so amazing because you have literally every WrestleMania arena, and you have matches from every WrestleMania. And you have some obscure characters. You got Big John Studd in that game. You got King Kong Bundy in that game. You got Yokozuna, like all these people, and now it's like I don't need 6 different versions of Steve Austin. Like seriously, 1997 Steve Austin and 1999 Steve Austin. There's not a lot of fucking difference there,
I was
buddy.
surprised they didn't have ECW Steve Austin with a black wig and a cast on his arm. I mean, they put so
No,
many
they
fucking
do.
Is playable?
No, no, not. In the new game, they have stunning Steve Austin from East.
No,
From
I know there's a bunch of versions. I'm asking, do they have that? Do they have an
No.
ECW specific Steve Austin?
They do. They have superstar Steve Austin from ECW, and
Jesus Christ.
he has when he was there for a short time, and he has long blonde hair.
Oh, I thought I'd seen a promo once where he was wearing a black wig or something. He's probably making fun of Eric Bischoff.
He was making fun of Nitro because he had balloons and he was popping them, and he goes, "Sorry about the pyro. I had to fire the pyro guy. I did it over the phone, nevertheless, but I still had to fire him."
But didn't he
'Cause
have like
was-
2 matches in ECW? Maybe he was
Yeah.
injured the whole time.
Yeah, he took on I think he had like a ladder match, and then he took on Mikey Whipwreck.
You know what would have been great is if every time you pick superstar Steve Austin, when it's time for him to come out of the ring, Lillian Garcia just announces that he's injured and they have to replace him with someone. So basically, he's like picking random. It's a troll. He's just like picking random, and every time you pick him, they just send someone else out. So it's like you pick him, and then for fucking no reason at all, like AJ Lee comes out, and you have to start Black Widowing people to death.
That's hilarious. The funny thing about that, though, is I'm pretty sure that arena, that ECW arena, and that particular match was a very last-minute decision because his superstar Steve Austin character and the Mikey Whipwreck character that are available in the game are both you know how you create a wrestler and when you see their pictures they look completely different than the actual ones because the other ones are the realistic photos. Their pictures are created wrestlers.
Nice. Yeah, it definitely sounds like some last minute shit. But well, you know what? It sounds like okay, you're telling me Mikey Whipwreck was in the game? Then of course he was just a creative wrestler. They needed him for one fucking thing. What are they gonna fucking find him and scan him? He's still alive, right? But I can't imagine that they're gonna go find him and fucking scan him. But so Goldberg is in 2K17. They recreate the classic Goldberg cops walking him, well, not walking him to the ring, but walking him out of this hatch that blows up. He looks lean as fuck. I will say that. He looks like he's been eating a lot of grilled chicken. But there was a pretty fun, interesting little Easter egg because I immediately asked myself. Every year now, whoever's on the cover, it means something. It tends to mean something. With Steve Austin, it seemed like it was a bigger involvement with his podcast in the WWE. With Sting, it was just the fact that Sting was coming to the WWE. So I asked myself, what does this mean for this year? Obviously, he has a working relationship with the WWE again, but is he ever going to wrestle a match? Is he just coming for the Hall of Fame? Is it just something cheap because they couldn't think of anything else? But then you brought a little Easter egg that I didn't notice in this trailer up to me.
Yeah, so if you're watching him and he's in the car, and they kind of have this side shot of him where you can see the reflection in the window, and he kind of makes a weird smile. If you look in the reflection of that window, you see the reflection of the sign for Suplex City, which says, are they going to tease, because they've run out of ideas for Brock Lesnar and who they can put Brock Lesnar up against WrestleMania. At WrestleMania 33, are we going to get Lesnar Goldberg 2?
What's interesting about that, it'll sell tickets. It will sell tickets. There's no question in my mind. What's interesting about that, to me, is at WrestleMania 20, that was a match. That was 2 guys who felt like credible competitors, even though the match itself and the circumstances were complete and total shit. And I can definitely see Vince wanting to take a mulligan on that. But now when you look at it, you got Bill Goldberg with a fucking stark white goatee. Again, just looking lean, and honestly, it just makes him like, kind of show his age a little bit more. Not that he's not built like a brick shithouse, but he's older. And you know who's only aged to look meaner is fucking Brock Lesnar. And since that time, Brock Lesnar has gone on to become one of the most legit fucking shoot badasses in the history of professional wrestling. I look at that match now and say to myself, you are going to have to work real fucking hard to lead me to believe that Bill Goldberg isn't just going to get his fucking salad tossed by Brock Lesnar.
Well, also, let's think of this. Why did the WrestleMania 20 match fail? Because Goldberg had a 1-year contract, which everyone knew he was not going to re-up, which ended on WrestleMania. Everyone knew Brock Lesnar was going to leave to attempt to play in the NFL, as silly as that sounded. He almost fucking did it for never playing football, which is crazy. So that's why it failed. Now let's fast forward to this. If Bill Goldberg comes in, he's not doing a multi-year contract. He's coming in for one match. Lesnar's already a guy who his new contract, I don't know when it ends, but after Mania he goes away anyway. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result?
Well, yeah. I mean, I guess it sounds like we're kind of on the same page. I just end up asking myself, like, what do you have to do? What do you have to do to recoup the image of Goldberg at this point? What do you have to do to make Bill Goldberg feel like a credible opponent to Brock Lesnar? I mean, I kind of see where they're going, because at this point they've built such a fucking monster in Lesnar that to preserve him, they can't ever let anyone go over him. The only person that even gets an opportunity is Taker. You put him up against guys and he just eats them alive, even if the story dictates that he should lose. He just eats them alive because they have built this fucking unstoppable killing machine of a monster. And at this point, I feel like there's only one guy in pro wrestling right now who could legitimately step to him and he would still be the underdog, and that's John Cena. And that's just because he's fucking Super Cena. But
I see The Rock.
You think so? I still feel like The Rock would be that'd be a tough sell for me. I really do. They've built him up to be so fucking mean, man.
It's The Rock, though. I can't. The Rock's always going to be up there with. You can put him in there with anybody. He's going to be all right.
Well, and I will, and yeah. Truth be told, I would need to see them next to each other too, because also when I think of The Rock wrestling, I think of like The Rock in his heyday wrestling. The Rock now is the goddamn Incredible Hulk compared to his old self. Like fucking 1999 Rock is Bruce Banner compared to 2016 Rock. So yeah. I that seems like one of those things I'd probably have trouble finding credible until I saw them in the ring together, and I would go, oh no, it looks like fucking Rocky's about to put his fucking fist through Brock's head. But yeah, who knows? It would be interesting, and I'm sure they can find a way to make Goldberg feel cool and credible. But maybe this is just coming from a guy who, even back then when I still thought that wrestling was somewhat legit, I was never quite sold on Bill Goldberg. I never found myself chanting Goldberg. Like it didn't. I feel like I kind of saw through it, and so to me, I would have trouble looking at that matchup in any way other than Brock's gonna fucking kill you.
I never liked Goldberg because he never was really able to. He was never a good worker. Like he had super short matches, and there's always that story of him and William Regal where he was told to go out and have a 6-minute match with him, and Goldberg claims he took advantage of him, and what really happened was he got exposed for not knowing what he was doing, and Regal's like, I tried to carry the guy, he just didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, well, you can see that by watching the match. I mean, just watch the match, because everything that goes wrong in that match is so clearly Bill Goldberg's fault.
And Regal's one of the best of all time, and not to mention, Goldberg ended the career of Bret Hart by kicking him in the head.
Yeah.
He kicked him so hard in the head that the guy ended up having like a seizure.
Yeah, and there are a lot of guys in the wrestling industry that I wouldn't fuck with for obvious reasons, because I may be 230 pounds, but most of it ain't muscle, and I'm certainly not trained to fight or grapple in any real tangible way. But I will tell you one guy who's very unassuming people who don't know him, who don't know anything about him, might not think would be fucking very threatening, is William Regal, and I would not fuck with that guy on my cockiest day, because William Regal will stretch you the fuck out and not think twice about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you really think about it, this guy was being pushed to the moon. What would Regal have to gain from making that guy look bad? And he just never crossed me as the type of guy that would ever just go out and say, I don't like the fact that this guy's getting a push, I'm going to make him look bad on purpose. So that alone tells me that Goldberg just doesn't know what he's doing. And he has his opinion of himself. One of my favorite stories I've ever heard is Eric Bischoff tells it that he was like, he was refusing to put over Scott Steiner.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, well, Eric, if this was real, nobody would believe that Scott Steiner would be able to take me. It's like, are you freaking serious? That guy was a Division I, like, big-time wrestler in Michigan. And look at him. Look at him. And
Yeah.
I guess Eric's response was, why don't you go tell Scotty that and see what he says?
So actually, moving on to something that I'm really fucking excited about. I feel like it's no secret that I'm a big What Culture fan, especially What Culture wrestling. I honestly think that everybody in the fucking world of wrestling is right now, because man, you can't watch a Raw or a SmackDown without five or six of those signs popping up. Thank you, King Ross. And I definitely don't mind mentioning them at this point, because let's be serious, we ain't competition for What Culture at this point. They are the big man in the room. But I was really fucking excited to see that the WCPW is happening. What Culture Pro Wrestling is actually happening. They are putting together their own promotion that they are going to run. They're gathering talent for it. And there's actually, I thought it sounded like such a crazy idea until they dropped this video, 10 things you need to know about WCPW. And number 10 was, it's happening. It's really happening. It's real. We promise you it's happening. And I'm super fucking excited, because they've had this awesome narrative running through so many of their videos with their What Culture Championship and fucking Pachiti Club versus BX, and these are just guys who just love pro wrestling to a point where they want to they really want to get into the business in some sort of meaningful, tangible way. And I look at these guys and I just say to myself, like, this has the flavor of like a young Court Bauer, like a guy who's just fucking so smart about the business and wants to get into the promotional portion of it and see what it's all about and just give it a try. And I couldn't be more fucking excited about this.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, I'm like, oh, this is a joke. They're gonna have some like little thing, and they're just like, nope, it's an actual event. They've gotten the first wrestler, guy I hadn't heard about, but they said they're gonna have a lot of guys, like big guys from the indie circuit that you kind of know and you may have heard of, but people, if you're really smart to the business or really into the business, you'll know who some of these guys are. And I'm like, I'm excited, because I love how I should have booked it, or how you should book it, by Adam, and he always has some great ideas. So I'm kind of curious. Let's see these guys, I guess, put their money where their mouth is, so to say, and see what they can do with their own little promotion. Now, they're not going to rival anything really, but let's see how entertaining they can make it.
Yeah, well, and to their credit, they flat out say that in that 10 Things You Should Know video. They flat out say, don't fucking be confused. We are not trying to take on the WWE. That's not going to happen. They just want to make entertaining wrestling. They actually say in the video, wrestling should be fun, and that's what they want it to be. I mean, to me, everything about it just seems like it's done from a place of respect and love. And they've also made it pretty clear that Jack and the Adams, and they're all going to be characters in the product, right? And if you've watched any of their videos at all, fucking Blampier and Pachiti, those guys can cut promos. They're really fucking charismatic guys, and so I'm super fucking excited. I mean, because these guys could be working as, I know that Pachiti's already going to be. They already said he's going to be the general manager, and you're going to tell me that that Adam Blampier couldn't parlay this into being a fantastic fucking pro wrestling manager. Dude, I mean that there's so much about this that's really really fucking exciting, and people have already glommed onto it. I'm checking out the Facebook page right now for the WCPW, and there's this really fucking great post that says that's some good talent there. Shame if somebody were to acquire it, and it just has a picture of Triple H smirking. I don't know. It just seems like they are so quickly becoming a force to be reckoned with, because every guy involved with this website is just super talented, and what they've done in a year's time. I kind of got caught up in What Culture Wrestling in probably the last 3-4 months. But just recently, after Extreme Rules, they posted a video talking about how apparently Adam Blampier, they reference it, Adam Blampier's first video for What Culture was for Extreme Rules 2015. And so now here we are a year later, and that dude is one of the most popular non-performing wrestling personas in the fucking world. And it's so fucking cool to see these content creators who just have such a love for what they do and a love for pro wrestling being so fucking over. King Ross is my fucking hero. I love the WTF videos. I get giddy every time I hear him yell King. And I don't know if you saw his SmackDown video from last week where he opened up the video with the old MGM logo. Did you see that? Mm-hmm. Of the lion roaring? No. Yeah, so you remember the old MGM video where the lion roars and the logo. That pops up and it's Ross in the middle of it going, King! And I lost my shit. But anyway, What Culture Pro Wrestling, that's going to be fucking awesome. Their first live show is on June 16th in Newcastle, England. They're going to put it up on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it anytime you want to fucking watch it. The tickets are super duper cheap. It just seems like guys who are doing wrestling and they're doing it right, and they're going to take the money that they're clearly making off their site and put it back into the wrestling zeitgeist.
Yeah, which, I mean, they get enough views, so maybe they can actually... maybe it'll turn into something bigger than what they think it is because of the amount of views they get and people are actually watching. I'm not saying they're going to be able to fill a stadium, but the people, I don't know if they're just planning to put it on YouTube regular or if they're going to have an exclusive on a YouTube Red channel.
I don't know. That they didn't really get too deep into that, but yeah, I mean the British indie wrestling scene alone is popping right now. And these guys are so fucking popular. I would agree with you. I wouldn't be surprised if it became a far stronger indie than they're expecting it to be.
It'll be interesting, but I guess
I would just hope that
we'll see what happens.
I hope that I just hope that it remains controllable. I would hate to see something such a good idea get pulled off so well and then crumple under its own weight. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm super fucking excited. I may be putting it over. Maybe putting it over a little too much, a little too soon. But it just sounds like such an interesting and fresh idea from guys who will make it fun. But speaking of new and exciting wrestling brands, the brand split is back. I think everybody knows that at this point, right? But what I didn't know until just recently are some of the specifics of the brand split. So, David, have you had time to really kind of look through at least the rumors of what the brand split is really going to entail?
See, I have seen and read several different articles, so I don't know which one is factual. And a lot of them are saying this is what we hear, but none of this is set in stone. But they are going to have SmackDown's going live. It's going to be every single Tuesday. It's going to be 2 hours. So they're going to, because the USA Network said we want another live show. And rather than mess with the schedule that they currently had, because if you don't know, WWE's current schedule is from Friday until Tuesday with Wednesday and Thursday off. Those are their off days, and they didn't really want to screw with anyone's off days. And because SmackDown has normally been shot on Tuesday and then shown on tape, so either on a Thursday or Friday, depending on what day they had it. And now they're just going to go live with it, and they've decided that they're going to split the brands and have unique rosters per show. And more than likely what it looks like is either Shane or Stephanie is going to be taking Raw or SmackDown. From what I've heard, the idea is possibly Shane will be the GM of SmackDown while Stephanie will be taking care of Raw.
The thing I'm most interested in was, and we've talked about this multiple times in the show, how I wasn't around during the original brand split. I wasn't watching at the time, and people, one of the few things people talk about, like in the early days of the brand split, they always really liked was the draft, was the talent draft. People always seem to really enjoy that portion of it, and I'm seeing here that apparently the talent draft is slated for July 11th. Now, I don't know how factual that is, but it does just feel it feels kind of cool to have an actual date to put on it. I'm trying to remember. I should be back from vacation at that point. It'd be nice to actually be able to sit down and watch it and see how that actually plays out. But yeah, and as far as the brand split goes, I'm excited. I'm interested. I think it's going to be one of those things like how I feel about John Cena. I wasn't around the first time, so even if it's not the best thing on earth, I'll probably get a little bit more entertainment out of it because it doesn't feel so tired to me.
I guess Vince McMahon is really high on this idea, and what they're talking about is Roman Reigns is going to be the top guy on Raw. John Cena is probably going to be the top guy on SmackDown. They are planning, which I think this is a terrible idea. I guess they are kind of planning on having two world champions, one per show. So bringing back the old world heavyweight title.
Yeah, after what, 2 years?
Yeah, which they did that a lot. But my biggest problem with that is it diminishes the world heavyweight title, and it also diminishes the WWE title. I think it's a better idea to have the U.S. title on one brand as the top belt, and then the Intercontinental title as the top belt, and then have the WWE title go in between both shows. That, to me, makes more sense. And same thing with the women's title.
It elevates the other two belts for sure.
Yeah, and I guess the tag team title, here's the problem. If you want exclusive brands, you can't have too many titles going both places, so just make one of the shows, maybe Raw, because it has an extra hour, more tag team specific, and maybe make SmackDown more women's specific.
Well, they're definitely going to have to make them both feel like a unique flavor. You know what I mean? If it ends up being just SmackDown is 2 more hours of Raw that doesn't feel different at all, that doesn't have any kind of different type of matches or a different kind of setup, then it's going to be a fucking huge failure. And I guess that's what's kind of scary is as of late, so many of the audience's worst fears have come true, that part of me just thinks that, yeah, SmackDown's just going to feel like 2 more hours of Raw, which to be fair, will be a step up from what SmackDown is now, just not the step up that it clearly needs to be. So...
And like we said, it'll be interesting to see where some of the NXT guys are going, because there's a few that are very much ready to come up. And I think with the current roster they have, the way they push some of these guys, like we talked about it earlier, you can't take Tyler Breeze and just automatically push him up the card now because he's on SmackDown. That doesn't really make sense. But if this NXT event, this takeover, is truly the end, and then I'm thinking we're going to get a big portion of those rosters that are going to come up to Raw and SmackDown to fill out some of the areas.
Hey, if you're telling me that fucking Alexa Bliss is going to be fucking live on my TV, if you're telling me that fucking Ty Dillinger is going to be live on my weekly TV, like there's going to be good in that. There's a lot of people down there who are already kind of at a point where I feel like that they're ready for quote unquote the main roster, if that's even going to be what we call it anymore after this brand split. There's a lot of guys and girls down there who are ready, and so yeah, that would be one of the good things. Bring them up, fucking fill out SmackDown or Raw with them. I would love to see Alexa Bliss fucking scrapping while trying to see over the top rope on Monday Night Raw. That would be fucking fantastic. But speaking of legit women's wrestlers, there was actually a bit of news. I actually found this on Forbes.com, which, as I've mentioned before in the show, actually has startlingly good coverage of professional wrestling, at least when it comes to WWE. But they posted some information actually to kick it to another name, from the Wrestling Observer, that talks about the fact that apparently Vince McMahon is rumored to have likened Sasha Banks in a number of ways to Daniel Bryan, but in the biggest way to, as it's put here in the article, saying that Banks only knows one speed, and it's contributes to relatively frequent injuries, and that just can't be a good fucking thing for Sasha. If Vince is already looking at her as like a glass cannon that if he just lets her go, she's going to burn herself out really quick, because he's just going to start pulling back on her so hard.
Yeah, that's kind of scary, but at the same thing, it's kind of that video game style wrestling we talked about. She's very talented, but she has had a couple of injuries. I guess her last concussion was pretty serious.
Yeah, I
And,
never really heard about the severity. I just knew that she had one.
yeah, that was another thing they were kind of comparing to Daniel Bryan is the rate of concussions and the severity of her concussion, and they're being pretty serious about that. So I just would she's fantastic in so many ways. I would just hate to see her get injured at such. I think she's like 24 years old at this young of age. I mean, Daniel Bryan he had to retire very young, but I think he was 34, which is still very young. But he still had quite a career. She hasn't really had anything yet.
Her prime years are still a decade away. I mean,
Yeah,
they really
exactly.
are. They're really like her top earning years are still fucking 10 years away. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that's something that they can resolve internally, because it would be such a shame to see Sasha get her legs cut out from under her, because of a negative comparison to another existing wrestler, even if it is Daniel Bryan. I mean, a negative comparison is a negative comparison. But before we actually head off here, I do want to talk a little bit about the highs and lows from Raw. I know you kind of caught. You said you caught up with it a bit. There was actually, I think there were far more highs this week. I think for once, I was actually really happy after Monday Night Raw. By and large, I thought this was a really good episode, and it actually, for once, did not feel its length. It didn't feel like it drug. How did you feel about it when you caught up with it?
It wasn't bad. I mean, for me, there were a few segments I thought lasted a little long. The opening segment that I caught that with, that was, like we didn't really get any information. It felt like they were stalling for time.
I
It
came
really, really
in
did.
at I came in at 8:27 was when I finally got home. I was at a barbecue because it was Memorial Day. I got home at 8:27 and got Raw turned on, and I saw New Day versus the Vaudevillains, and I got there just in time to see the Gallows and Anderson interference. And I thought to myself, well, I clearly missed some stuff. We'll wait till later in the episode to find out what I missed. And later in the episode, weren't really referencing it, so I was like, I'm going to go to the internet and find out what I missed. And I realized that match was the end of the first segment of the show.
Right.
35 minutes into the show, and I was fucking blown away by that. And then I thought to myself, well, it was the New Day, so it had to be good. And then I went back and watched it and went, oh my god, it wasn't good at all. It wasn't good
It
at
was
all.
not. It was not good at all. And but the bright side out of that is I think they finally are booking the club the way they should be booked.
Well, definitely, dude. I mean, they came off looking fucking like killers, which was a great start for what happened later in the show. We're gonna jump around a little bit because there's a lot of stuff that's tied together here, but that is all inexorably tied to AJ Styles' fucking magnificent heel turn on a returning John Cena. How did you feel about that?
That was fantastic. They even had me because I'm like, okay, this makes sense. They got to figure out a way for AJ to be able to battle the club, and he needs someone. And John Cena's been out for a while, so they're going to put him in a tag team program to help him get his feet wet and get back into it. And then it's like, no, they're not. AJ Styles is going to be the leader of the club, and their first attack and their first, I guess, target, if you will, is John Cena.
So,
Which that's exciting to me because it means AJ still is not going to be delegated to the bottom of the card like people were afraid to. He's still going to have a top spot.
So do you feel like my impression here was that this was sort of Vince's dream booking all along, and with Cena out injured, he kind of had to find a way to keep AJ credible and kick the can down the road up to this point. That to me really felt that way, because if you took everything that happened prior to this and just had AJ premiere like fucking Extreme Rules or even Payback and just give him a little bit of a face run with one minor feud, and then had Gallows and Anderson pop up and make their entrance in this segment tonight and do this, it feels like all three of those guys' story in the WWE could have started here, and everything that happened before is now kind of rendered irrelevant, which isn't a great thing. It's not fantastic booking, but to me, I looked at that and said, okay, this is what Vince always wanted, and this is what he's been waiting for. And I have to admit, if that's the case, I may have to take back some of the things I said about how poorly Gallows and Anderson have been booked. They still haven't been booked great. They still don't look fucking strong. But this is a nice way to kind of hit that reset button and let them start from scratch.
Yeah, and for me, the only problem is that the way AJ treated it against John Cena, and maybe they'll go into this more and kind of clean that up. It's like, why didn't he do that against Roman Reigns when it was a title match?
Again, yes, yeah, you're 100% right, and I think that's why that is why it's muddy and weird, and that's why I guess I'm preferring to view it as like a reset button, because you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
I think the angle they're going with here is that while Roman Reigns is the current champion, he's no John Cena. And AJ wants one very particular head on his mantle. He wants the guy. Think about their two parallel. I mean, just thinking through the story that they're trying to tell here. Think about their two parallel careers, right? During the same time period, these two guys with absolutely parallel career paths, but one of them ended up being John Cena and the other one ended up being AJ Styles, and AJ Styles later in his career had to go to Japan to make a name for himself in a real way to come be a part of the WWE. I really do think they are going to play the jealousy. AJ thinks that the Cena spot should have always been his angle, and I'm totally fine with that. I think that would be a really interesting and engaging story that's not going to require a belt to make it mean something. And speaking of meaning something, I love the fact that this made Cena feel like he meant something again. Enough people were behind him in the audience that AJ was even getting what chants? I mean, as much as I hate that fucking chant, it's a very clear indicator there are people that are not behind the guy who's talking. And AJ was actually getting what chants at the end of the shit that he was saying. So this to me, this fucking feud seems like it could really be a fucking home run.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. And Cena is someone like he used to be a guy that I'm like, he's not a great worker, but he may not have a lot of tools, but when he has a good dance partner, he can pull a lot of great matches off. So I think this is going to be a really good program they're going to have with each other.
There's a classic coming down the pipes at some point. There really is.
Yeah.
I mean, think about Cena in recent years. The exact kind of thing you're talking about. Think about the fucking classics he put on while he was feuding with Seth Rollins.
And Kevin Owens.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. Abso-fucking-lutely. I think they're going to bring the best out of each other. My one and only concern on this is I really hope that Cena finds someone to rally with. I hope he has to go out and find someone to counteract Gallows and Anderson, because if this ends up being him Super Cenaing his way through all three of them and AJ requiring the club to fight him, that's just going to make AJ look like a bitch, and I'm not going to be so behind that. Unfortunately, I have a feeling that's where it's going to go, because Cena's the WWE guy and AJ's always going to be a TNA guy to Vince.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, because when the club came out earlier in the day, they destroyed the tag team division. So hopefully they're going to start a program where they're going after the tag titles, which will keep them busy, and that way it'll give them something to kind of stay away from there.
Yeah, the only thing I regret here, and I was thinking about this, I kind of thought that same thing. The only thing that will get me about this is clearly they're going to become a dominating presence in the WWE in the foreseeable future, but I don't see a narrative where they hold all the gold. And that would be nice.
You're probably right. Well, I did read that as Cena is going to be the SmackDown guy, it is not said that Cena is going to be the SmackDown champion.
Well, no, that's my point. Even then, even if maybe that's my ray of hope. Maybe the brand split does bring about another belt that AJ could win. But I was thinking to myself, just given the current narrative, not knowing anything about what's going to happen with the brand split, I could see Gallows and Anderson being the ones to finally take the tag belts off the New Day. But AJ's going up against a guy who doesn't carry a belt, so there's not a reality where they believably hold all the gold, which I think would be preferable to me. If you really want to get this over, have them keep killing dudes the way they should have been killing dudes when they first came in. Bring Finn Balor up and have those motherfuckers hold all the gold. Gallows and Anderson as tag champs. AJ Styles is the world heavyweight champion, and Finn Balor holding whatever the new version of the big gold belt is, or the IC title. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck. But you need to put all four of those guys together, and every one of them needs to be carrying fucking 10 pounds of gold around their waist, period. That has to happen at least once.
What I want to see is I'd like to see John Cena to grow a curly mustache and join the Vaudevillains. I think that's probably what we need to have in order
Dude,
for
can you
him to battle
imagine
the
him in the
club.
old school singlet with the handlebar mustache and the dumbbell that looks like two fucking wrecking balls on the ends? Oh,
That's
that'd be
hilarious,
fantastic.
isn't it?
That would
It'd
be
be.
fucking fantastic.
I want to see his old timey promos. I think they'd be great.
He could do the Simon Gotch power walk out to the ring and do the squats and oh man, I'm in love with this idea. I am in fucking love with that idea. So that was some of the better shit that was going on Raw. And actually, there's a couple more things I want to get into, but some of these are inexorably tied to what I also considered lows. One of them being, I think we finally have confirmation now after 2 straight weeks. Rusev is back to being Rusev, as
Rusev
in
Crush.
Rusev Crush. Yes, fucking exactly. My problem with that, David, is who Rusev's next fucking feud looks like it's going to be.
It's going to be Titus O'Neil from what it looks like, and I feel like they're going to put Titus over
You think
because
so?
you don't. Here's the weird part about it. I think that Vince is trying to. I think he got a lot of heat for his reaction and suspending him for so long. And I think this is his way to kind of smooth that over because I don't think that you put Titus O'Neil in a title feud just to bury him because you never put him in a title feud before. It's not you don't bring him up to take him down.
But
Just
that's exactly what Vince McMahon does. I would argue that's exactly what I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's just feeding Titus to Rusev because the mentality would be Rusev to get Rusev back to where he was. He needs to start crushing big guys, not Kalistos.
I guess that might make sense. We'll see how it goes. I'll find it pretty interesting. I would like to see him feud. I like the New Day. I would love to see one of the New Day to take a singles title. For instance, I would like Big E to be like a United States champion, and or as I've heard him call himself on Twitter, the greatest nickname of all time, Chalk Lesnar.
I have never fucking heard that, but that's fucking fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm going to go on record. I'm going to get hipster on you for a second, but I'm going to go on record as saying I was one of those guys that loved Big E's IC title run. I thought that had a lot of potential. I thought that the only reason that went sour was shitty booking. I'm glad that he ended up with the New Day, but he has always screamed money to me in singles competition, and when everyone else was fucking hating on that dude carrying around the IC title, I was happy to see him doing it. I say when the New Day inevitably has to split up, you get a solid Xavier Kofi feud out of that, and Big E goes on, hopefully to turn heel, to be the one that actually splits them up, and he becomes a fucking monster heel, and we see the epic return of the 5 count. Because, David, 3 ain't enough.
3 ain't enough.
I fucking miss old Big E. I miss NXT Big E. I miss Big E Langston. Langston was his last goddamn name. Vince.
They don't have any last names. It's not Alexander Rusev. It's Rusev.
Oh my god, or fucking Adrian Neville. It's brutal. It's like who dictate? Oh, I know it's Vince. Never mind. I know it's Vince. But why does he make these choices? Is he just throwing darts? Is it like a 50-50? Like if it lands on the right side of the dart, lands on the right side of the board, you get to keep your last name. If it lands on the left side, we gotta annotate that son of a bitch.
I had no idea. And when he picks it, a lot of them don't. If they cut the first or last name, I haven't seen a lot of those guys going up the card.
It feels like a fucking death knell, doesn't it?
Yeah. Who do we got? We got Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose. It's not just Ambrose or Roman.
Then on the other side of the coin, the one guy who's gotten over is Big E, and he did it on his own. He did it organically, and he did it on his own. Vince's version of the New Day was a pile of shit, and those guys actually made something of it.
Look at the biggest stars of all time. If you're going through eras, we got Bruno Sammartino, Hulk Hogan, Stone Cold Steve Austin. The only exception, John Cena. The only exception is The Rock, and you could still even say because he gets that it's okay.
But that's the thing is because that was a nickname. His name was Rocky Maivia. And people, and that was always in the back of people's minds. The thing about it is one name dehumanizes them. It makes it just makes them weird. It just makes them feel weird and inhuman, and you can't connect. Like it's just a subtle little thing. But I absolutely detest it when guys come out. I want to call him Antonio Cesaro. What is wrong with that? What
That's another
the fuck
one.
is wrong with that?
I mean, that's the same reason why Fandango is never going to be a title holder.
Because he can't just be fucking Johnny Curtis.
Johnny Curtis, man, let's get weird.
But speaking of two guys who did get to keep their last name, Enzo and Cass, man, they dropped another fucking fantastic promo on the Dudley Boys. I don't understand why we're back on the Dudley Boys feud. Again, I think this is another reset button. I think this is Vince is like, well, we lost this time, but we'll make it back up on the back end. We'll just start them over fresh, get them strong again. There's not much more to say other than Enzo Amore is back in the ring. It was a solid match. They did pretty standard Enzo and Cass pacing, that classic Enzo gets his ass whooped and Cass comes in off the hot tag, that classic wrestling that seems fresh to everybody because nobody in WWE fucking does it anymore. But at the same time, I will say this. I had to catch up on this on Hulu. There were a couple of... I had to do a bit of business last night for Black Coat Radio, so I didn't get to watch all of Raw as it was going on. So I had to catch up on this, and I actually had to find a video of Enzo and Cass's promo, because I don't know if it's WWE that cuts down for the 90-minute version of Hulu or if someone at Hulu does it, but whoever does it needs to have a fucking finger chopped off. They need to be fucking punished, because the most masterful man on the mic in this company right now is Enzo Amore, and you know what their promo was like on Hulu, David? Did you watch it on Hulu?
I actually did. I saw both versions because I went back on the site that I usually get an opportunity to watch Raw, and tried to recap last night as much as I could before I got tired, and then I was watching Hulu when I got off work today, and I was like, oh, they just not going to do that, huh?
They just cut right into the ring to Dudley Boys. There's only one word to describe you. I'm like, wait a second. Because Enzo and Cass just fucking scorched those mics with a fucking fantastic Green Bay themed promo that made me laugh my ass off, was entertaining as fuck, and some douchebag thought that was what you needed to cut out to get it down to 90 minutes. My mind was fucking blown by how horrible that choice is. You should never, never cut Enzo Amore out on the mic. Ever. You give Bray Wyatt 20 minutes to ramble nonsense and you're going to cut off Enzo Amore? Fuck you.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. I'm sorry to cut in on this. This is some breaking news that just came out, and doesn't have anything to do with Raw, but it is kind of WWE related. Cody Rhodes, who was recently released, asked for his release, has his first match.
Oh, Cody booked something.
He is, yes. He on August 27th, he will be part of a match with Kurt Angle.
Shut the fuck up! I'm pulling it up right now
for Northeast Wrestling in Wappering Falls, New York, I believe.
So this, okay.
Also, will feature Jeff Hardy versus Juice and Thunder Liger, which is awesome.
So this brings up an interesting question. So I don't know if you saw this earlier this week, David, but Cody Rhodes tweeted out that list of people that he would like to work with. Currently working wrestlers that his dream would be to work with. And right up towards the top of that list was Kurt Angle. So I see this, and maybe it's just me being hopeful, but I genuinely ask myself, does this mean that list was less of a dream and more of like Cody Rhodes' traveling hit list?
I think that's going to be his greatest hits. He's actually going to do it.
That could be something that could get him over right out of the fucking gate. He leaves WWE, giving him the middle finger on the way out for being fucking mistreated the whole time that he was there. He goes out, makes this fucking awesome hit list, and starts traveling to the Indies, knocking all these dudes off, starting with Kurt Angle. Again, maybe it's just that fucking fantasy booker in me, but that to me sounds like a way to blow up Cody Rhodes fucking huge on the indie circuit.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and that'll be a fun match to see. Like, I know Angle's not what he used to be, but he's still a hell of a athlete and a worker. Sure.
But, I don't want to see him going for that much longer, but But
Yeah, but
it'll still be. That's an interesting match. I'm very interested to see that. Is it being televised, or it's got to at least be being recorded?
oh, I'm sure it'll be recorded. I'm sure you'll be able to find it on YouTube. But it seems like it's just going to be an indie show. But with the names they have on there, with Hardy and Liger and Cody Rhodes and Angle, there'll be cameras there. It'll get filmed.
Yeah, this is an. Oh man, I'm gonna have to see how far away this is from the city. This actually sounds like one that would be fun to get tickets to. Get tickets and rent a car, or if the train goes up that way. Yeah, I'm leaving that tab up. We're gonna check that out after the show. But getting back to Raw. And getting back to NXT talent, that in my mind is getting over on the main roster. Dana Brooke looked absolutely fucking dominant on Raw last night. Even with Charlotte's help, I love what they are doing with Dana Brooke. I love that Dana Brooke is squashing folks. I know some people are butthurt that she squashed Natalya, and I definitely think overall the match was too short. I think this could have done better as a squash match with a longer segment attached to it, because I want the women to have more time than they had, and they certainly didn't have any time on Raw last night. But at the end of the day, if I'm looking at it in a vacuum, and you're asking me, am I happy that Dana Brooke is squashing people? I'm absolutely happy about that.
The one thing that I thought was interesting that someone said about Natty Neidhart was don't ever ride in a car with her, because if she gets distracted, it's over.
What does that mean?
Watch her last couple of matches. They're trying to keep her strong, but every time she loses, it's because of some sort of distraction.
You mean she's driving the car? Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's just her. That's fucking faces in the WWE. I genuinely believe that only heels should drive cars when they're on the road in the WWE, because that fucking distraction finish is all they fucking do anymore. But at the end of the day, if I can watch Dana Brooke pick someone up and smash them, it's a woman using a Michinoku driver as a finish. That is awesome. That to me is just fucking awesome. We've talked about Dana Brooke before. I couldn't stand her when she first came out, and it took 2 matches for her to win me over. You were telling me how great she was. I didn't see it, and it took 2 matches, and then I went from fuck this woman to holy crap, she's good, and now I just want to see her succeed. I want to see. I am interested to see where this is going with Charlotte. I don't know that I want her to be Charlotte's next feud, but a year from now, I'd be happy if she and Charlotte were at each other's throats.
I think she's in a good spot right now, where she's kind of the second to Charlotte, because it gets her a lot of exposure. But she's basically the second top heel, because they know Sasha's, no matter how hard they try it, Sasha's a face. Yep. Sasha, and I still truly think Sasha to me is Lady Rock if they let her. If they let her be. So, and that's a good place for Sasha to come back into, to get back into her groove, to work with Dana for a few matches, and then go to Charlotte for SummerSlam. But SummerSlam's fastly approaching us, so they may not have time for that.
Yeah, I would love to see Dana Brooke just be a crony until Emma comes back, and then have Emma Dana Brooke be a feud. I think, again, this is another one where to me the table's set. It really is. I mean, I know they didn't have much time on the main roster together because of this injury, but sometimes, man, when life hands you lemons, and I think that Emma, that if these 2 women, being Charlotte and Dana Brooke, really become a force to be reckoned with, Emma comes back and says, "Whoa, that was my spot. That should have been me." Either that, or you welcome Emma with open arms and you turn it into a stable.
That's what heel Emma's so good, and I don't want to see either one of them go face. Is my problem.
But here's the thing. I totally hear what you're saying. I 100% hear what you're saying. But a face that's been a good heel is completely different than just a fucking vanilla white meat baby face. And Emma's first fucking face run with the bubbles and the dancing was just weird. Yeah, thank you. He's doing the dance right now. I mean, and David is a fantastic dancer if you've never seen it. If you ever are able to meet David in person, I recommend you turn on Pseudo Echo's His Eyes from the soundtrack of Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, because he will do, especially if you give him a couple of drinks, he will do a dance for you that will absolutely blow your goddamn mind. But I digress. I really think that after give her a little bit more time to be a solid heel, but when Emma does eventually turn face, I think she is going to be a fantastic face because we have completely erased the memory of her power walking into the ring with Santino Marella. Now she's a force to be reckoned with, and she'll theoretically, when the time comes, have the audience behind her.
Right. It'll be interesting to see. So I think we've hit your highs. What do you think of the lows? What were your lows? Because I think we have a couple of things that we disagree on.
Well, first off, I'll sort of scrape off the ones that we sort of touched on earlier, like Rusev's next feuding being Titus O'Neil, the women's match being too short, the Hulu Enzo and Cass bit just being cut. First off, I know we don't disagree on this one. That Rollins Reigns bit was fucking terrible.
Oh, it's awful. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying their best to make sure that Rollins does not overshadow Reigns.
And they also want to try to make him as heelish and annoying as possible too, because no matter what, it's just he's kind of anti-Roman Reigns right now. The fans really are cheering him no matter what he does.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going about him the wrong way. When he was champion, they did the whole Ric Flair thing where he was a weak champion and he was a cowardly champion. I think because you have all these CrossFit things and the way they produced this, I don't know if you saw the special that they did on him.
No, I did not.
It's actually really, really well done, and it kind of delves into his past. But to me, you need to stop booking him as a cowardly heel and book him as an equal to Roman Reigns, someone who can do everything Roman can do and maybe even do it better. I mean, I know he could do it better, but you need to book it as if they are complete equals. Just one's a heel and one's thinks he's a face.
Exactly, one thinks he's a face. Well, yeah, you're right. It's the problem has always been booking with both of these guys, and that's the problem. Is your plan is contingent on good booking, and these two guys have never they've never been synonymous. The reason that we booed Rollins was because the booking was shit when he was champion. It wasn't because he was doing a decent job as a heel, but it really was because he was just an annoying douche because they booked him to be an annoying douche. And Reigns, we just don't like him because they booked him to be fucking like John Cena ate John Cena and took his Highlander powers.
What I would like to see, and if I was booking this feud, I would do this. The first match would be a double count out. I know that sounds dumb, but bear with me. The second match would be some sort of something that ended where basically a double knockout or something where they couldn't compete, and then they decide for the third one we get to SummerSlam and they do an Iron Man match. And actually let these guys go out there. And I'm not saying give them an hour, give them 30 minutes because that's what the Iron Man matches kind of dwelled to. But let them go at it, and then let one of them finally go over on the other one. But book them as if they're so equal that you can't say, well, this guy's going to destroy this one. Don't let there be any outside interference that dictates it. Make it be they're just that equal to each other, because it makes Reigns look good. It makes Rollins look great. And it has a solid feud that you don't just have to see one side.
I have one very important question for you.
Yes.
Where are you going to find time for a Roman rest period in an Iron Man match?
There will be in between periods.
Yeah, you didn't think about that, did you? You didn't think about it. You're gonna have fucking timeouts on this motherfucker. You're saying no interference in a Roman Reigns Iron Man match. Is Seth Rollins gonna like trap him underneath some fucking fallen scaffolding and then sit on top of it and cut a promo for 20 minutes while he fucking takes a breath? You're confused, sir. You're confused.
That's true.
You're just plain confused. I'm guessing this next bit is based on our earlier conversation is something that you are going to find issue with. I thought and maybe it's because I'm just fucking tired of this feud, but I thought the Dolph Ziggler Baron Corbin segment was unnecessary and fucking stupid.
Unnecessary, yes. I thought it was absolutely hilarious because I thought it was a perfect point for a Ziggler heel turn if they're going to do it, because he did it so dickish. Dolph Ziggler has been talking about how great a technical wrestler is, and anyone who knows his background, he wrestled over at Kent State, and he was fantastic. He has the record for most pins there. He was a phenomenal college wrestler. And so he's telling Baron Corbin, you may be a good street fighter, but I'm a better technical wrestler. You can't beat me in a technical wrestling match. So this is what it's supposed to be. So Dolph comes out there, and he gives him the old 1 second, puts on the old college wrestling, amateur wrestling headgear, puts in a mouthpiece, gets down in an athletic stance and starts dancing around him like he's going to hook it up, and just kicks him in the dick. I popped so hard for this.
I mean, I didn't think that's what bothered me. Was like, you made me be bored and annoyed with Baron Corbin getting kicked in the dick. Like, that should be, I add a fucking 6-pack of fucking alcoholic root beer to that, and that'd be a fucking Saturday night for me. But it just did nothing for me. It was just so weird and stupid and out of nowhere. And I know that it tied into the Extreme Rules pre-show match, but who the fuck cares? Because who watched that match? Who even cares about this feud? What have we done to Dolph Ziggler? What the fuck have we done to Dolph Ziggler?
I actually noticed that this year, and it might have been, or this week. It may have been because he was in Green Bay, but when they do the backstage segments and they say, "I'm here with," and they say their name, and then you hear the pop of the crowd or the boo. He got nothing. They said, "I'm here with Dolph Ziggler." And I was expecting to hear cheers. Nothing.
People have given up on him. It's really sad, but this is what happens. It's what Vince was hoping was going to happen to Daniel Bryan. Is he just squashed until we gave up on him. We as an audience have given up on Dolph Ziggler. Even those of us who still like him and like his work have given up on him because we know that he has no tangible future. I still can't believe that he re-upped on his contract. To this day, like when his contract came up last year, I still have no fucking clue why he re-upped. He could go so many other places and make a perfectly good living and be somebody. He seems to me like a kind of guy that could fucking thrive in New Japan, and I just don't know why he's sticking around WWE to be treated like fucking gutter trash.
I would say it's because he's comfortable and he wants to do the comedy thing, and he gets way more exposure being a WWE superstar than he would being a New Japan superstar. I think pro wrestling at this point for him is something that pays the bills and gives him name recognition.
That's probably a good way to look at it. You're probably not wrong. The sad truth is, I have a feeling Dolph Ziggler has given up on Dolph Ziggler, or to put it better, Nick Nemeth has given up on Dolph Ziggler. And yeah, I would agree. That actually like rings frighteningly true. But last but to me actually kind of least from Raw is I hate 6-man tags in general. Nobody has any time to shine, but I certainly hate 6-man tags when you try to convince me that's a fucking main event, even if it is just for a Raw. But how did you feel about this match?
I didn't watch it. I know of it. I know it existed. My biggest thing is like the week before, they booked everything about Money in the Bank in that ladder match like it was so damn important. And this week, it was a total afterthought where they threw them all on at the end of the show as a way to be like, oh, yeah, and remember this is happening. To where, here's my question. So last week, they had the card up that says, these have qualified, and we still need 2 more. And then we had 1 more qualify, and then that 7th spot has disappeared. So is there going to be 7, or they just decided, we'll just do 6 and hope nobody noticed that we promised 7 people?
Who's returning to take the 7th spot? That's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Who's coming back? Who wasn't here before that's coming back? Because and I think those ladder matches are the problem.
What I can think of is Randy Orton.
Could be, but I think those ladder matches are what my problem is with these like 6-man tags and shit. I'm just tired of seeing these matches that are totally overloaded with dudes and no one gets a chance to shine. It's just really fucking annoying.
Well, this match was really cool when they did it at WrestleMania, and then they gave it their own pay-per-view, which is fine. I think it's fine. But then they started replacing it with the 6 or 7 person Intercontinental title match, which makes it a little less special, I think. Like if you have this Money in the Bank match once a year, it's special. But you can't tell me that because there's a briefcase in this one and the other one was a title that it's different. It's not different.
Yeah. I mean, it's just we're too close. We're too close to the last odd numbered fucking man ladder match. We're just too fucking. It's too fresh in our minds. And I think having if Money in the Bank's going to be every year, then those fucking matches don't need to happen any other time of the year.
Exactly. Now, would you prefer there be a Money in the Bank pay-per-view, or would you prefer that you have it at WrestleMania? Because originally it started at I think it was like the first 4 or 5 were at WrestleMania until it broke off and got its own pay-per-view.
I mean, I guess it doesn't make a difference, right? Because you carry it for a year no matter what. So,
But I mean, because no one's ever cashed it in at WrestleMania, that gives it more that urgency when WrestleMania's coming up. Well, maybe that telegraphs it a
well,
little
no, but
bit.
someone has. You forget Seth Rollins. Probably the most
Yeah.
interesting cash in the history of the fucking briefcase.
Oh no, no, no. What I'm saying is his time, his year to cash it in wasn't up until the
I
next
see what
Money
you're
in the
saying.
Bank.
Yeah. No, that would. Well. You know what it would do? It would get. It would add some urgency, but it would also make it obvious. If
True.
think about the Seth Rollins cash in at WrestleMania 31, that couldn't have happened if he had won the briefcase at WrestleMania 30. And the reason I say is because then you knew it was coming. This is his last night. This is his last night to cash in. There's no question.
Yeah.
He's cashing in. It would have just been a question of when and where. So the only way you could have even made that remotely interesting was if he jumped Reigns, cashed in on him 5 minutes before the Lesnar match, and then walked out there with the belt and was like, "All right, Brock, let's fucking do this." That's really the only way you could have made that interesting.
Or he cashes in, and then whoever won it that night cashes in on him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's actually a good point. Never mind. Yeah. Well, I guess you couldn't cash it in the main event then, could you? Because technically that year would be up by the next year's Money in the Bank match. So you'd have to
Yeah,
cash
that's
in
true.
beforehand. Okay, I mean, there's something interesting to that. There's something interesting to that. I don't mind that it's its own pay per view though. It doesn't really bother me. I just think that if that's like saying that's like last year having a Hell in a Cell at SummerSlam when Hell in a Cell was only a few months away. It made no sense to me. Wasn't
No.
that the SummerSlam last year? The Taker Brock
Yeah.
match was Hell in a Cell, right? Wasn't it?
No. They
Or was
had
that
their
actually at Hell in a Cell?
they had their match at Hell in the
But
Cell.
did somebody have Hell in a Cell? I just remember thinking, what a weird time to have a Hell in a Cell match, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I could be thinking that incorrectly.
No, I just I don't know. I look at it this way: if you're going to have your own Money in the Bank pay per view, then don't have the ladder match at for the Intercontinental title because they've done it the last 2 years at WrestleMania. Because what are they going to do next? Are they going to take the Andre Battle Royal and make it a Royal Rumble style where people come in instead of all starting in the ring? Because the Royal Rumble's cool because it's a battle royal, but it's a little different.
Yeah. Well, it's easily one of the best gimmick matches. It might be the best gimmick match they have, actually. I can't think of one that's better. So I would say the Royal Rumble is most likely it.
It's a great idea on an old idea and just putting a new spin on it. I always thought it'd be interesting if they had a ladder match that started out with two people that was Royal Rumble style, because you could end the match before everyone even got in.
Yeah?
So it wouldn't really be luck of the draw anymore.
Well, that's kind of like the was the idea I had was it for the Mania Intercontinental title match, the ladder match was the Intercontinental title match where my thought was that Owens and Zayn should just lay everyone out right away, just incapacitate everyone immediately, and so the swerve is you thought you were getting this convoluted match, but no, you're just getting Owen Zayn. You're getting Owen Zayn with a ladder. Like that to me would have been a fantastic swerve. That was the WrestleMania match, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
Yes.
fuck, dude. See, those two have gone at each other so many times, and I feel like ladders have been involved multiple times already, and so I have trouble remembering which fucking match is which.
But they're always good.
That being said, I think that it's just about time we shut this thing down, David, unless you've got anything else. The fuck was that? What was that? Did you hear that?
Yeah. Somebody at the studio door, or...
Holy shit, he's here! He's here! David, we've been talking about this motherfucker for months. We've been bringing this up on the show repeatedly, and oh my god, he's finally fucking here. Oh, fuck yeah! Jesus Christ.
Is that you, Attitude?
God damn it, is me. It's Attitude Era. I am the spirit of the Attitude Era. Oh my god.
Well, welcome to the One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
How
Attitude
you doing,
Era.
motherfucker?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hand me one of them cold beers you got over there.
Yeah, what kind would you like here?
I wanna get me an Addy Ice. That's my own personal brand.
One Addy Ice for you,
I
sir.
know you got one sitting over there.
There you go. So, what are you doing at the show this week?
Well, I was told I was gonna get a booking over here. I told I had a job. You know, I've been out of business for about the last 20 years or so.
So what are your plans? What would you do to make the current product a little better?
I think I would add as much titties and beer as I possibly could. I would hire Vince Russo immediately and give him 100% total creative control.
Well, that sounds pretty interesting. I tell you what, Attitude Ira, maybe you can come back next week and maybe do a how Addy Ira would have booked it.
David, I don't know if this is a good idea. Do we really want this fucking asshole on our show?
I think he's going to be a ratings getter. I mean, the Attitude Era was big. Everyone still talks about that.
Listen up, motherfucker. We were absolutely the height, the peak of professional wrestling. There was nothing better. I don't even think there was wrestling before 1996. I don't think that shit even existed. Pro wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever you want to call it. I was handing out cans of wrestling peas years before any of this shit, any of this modern shit happened. John who? Cena what? Attitude Ira, motherfucker.
Really, dude?
Well, Mr. Ira, I really appreciate you stopping by the show, and I'll tell you what, maybe we'll talk to you got a manager or anyone we can contact and get you booked over here?
I don't fucking know. Do I have a manager?
Ira, I have no fucking clue, man. You just came crashing through here. You broke my fucking window. You're stepping up to my fucking mic right now. I don't fucking know who your manager is.
I think the last time I saw you, you were at a high school gym taking on Coco Beware.
Well, that wasn't a high school gym. That was a VFW. But it was definitely Coco Beware. And it was more his bird. What was his fucking bird's name?
Frankie.
That's all I got. I don't know what else to say after that. I'm talking about fighting a bird in a VFW. I feel like I hit rock bottom. But I'll definitely hit rock bottom next week with y'all on this One Sweet Wrestling Podcast.
Well, I'll tell you what, Attitude. I'm going to give you a one sweet, and I'm going to head it over to Troy as well for a one sweet.
One sweet to you, good brother.
Yeah, one sweet, I guess.
And we'll see you guys next week.
You've been listening to One Sweet Wrestling Podcast. Find this and many other quality nerdcasts for stream and download at Blackcoat Radio on SoundCloud and YouTube. Join us each and every week for news, reviews, and discussion on the world of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. One Sweet Wrestling Podcast is a product of Blackcoat Radio.